All right, this verse is extremely important, and I'll explain it in a minute. Verse 15, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 15. But if the unbelieving partner separates, let it be so. In such case, the brother or sister is not enslaved. God has called you to peace. For how do you know, wife, whether you will save your husband, or do you know, husband, whether you will save your wife? So verse 16 kind of talks about if you're a believer, they're an unbeliever. God could potentially work for that to bring them to the faith. I want to focus on verse 15 for a second. Because in this case, it says, but if the unbelieving partner separates, let it be so. In such cases, the brother or sister, so the Christian, is not enslaved, is not bound. God has called you to peace. This is the passage where we often get you'll often hear marriage and divorce explained. People will actually say that there's two justifications for divorce. One is sexual immorality. Think of Mark 10 or Matthew 19. The other is something we call malicious abandonment. Malicious abandonment. Now this is where that verse comes from. I don't think that it's quite as fair to say, well, so in this verse, I think that's an oversimplification. I think the principle remains there, but I think it's an oversimplification because in this verse, you'll notice that it is not the Christian who is seeking divorce here. The Christian has been abandoned here, and the divorce is only a legal recognition of what the unbelieving person has already done. So the most cut and dry example would be you go home and your wife has gone and she refuses to ever contact you again. You go home, your husband says, you know what, I'm going to leave. I've decided I'm going to join, or I don't want to take care of my family anymore. I'm going to sail the seven seas. I'm going to be a pirate. And the husband leaves. It's malicious abandonment because he's acting in a selfish way. It's not like, guess what, your husband is drafted, he has to go to war. He can't control that. He's not trying to abandon the family. But in the case of your husband intentionally leaves so that he's not a part of the marriage anymore, that's abandonment. So that's the most cut and dry example of abandonment. But I'm going to give you a more nuanced example of abandonment too, that we often say, this also constitutes abandonment. In these cases, the Christian is not the one saying, hey, we're married, I'm going to seek a divorce. The Christian is saying, we're supposed to be married, and you're not being married to me. You are doing everything you can to not be married to me. Therefore, when I get the certificate of divorce, this is a legal recognition of what you've done. You've abandoned the marriage. I am not the one seeking to end the marriage. You are actively seeking to end the marriage. All right, so in this case, a more nuanced example would be something like this.